Conqueror. He was a legend in the making before he even picked up a sword. A man who believed he was the son of Zeus. A warrior who wept because there were no more worlds to conquer. But was Alexander the Great truly invincible? Or has history, like so many empires, built myths on fragile ground? Stay with us as we reveal the lesser-known truths behind the man who changed the world before turning 33. This is Undercover History Updates, and today we dive into the rise, brilliance, and shadows of Alexander the Great. Alexander was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of ancient Macedonia. His mother, Olympias, was not just ambitious, she was mystical, believing her son was divine. Legends say she told Alexander he was conceived by Zeus, and even Philip II, his father, began to question whether the gods had touched his wife. From a young age, Alexander believed he was destined to rule not just Macedonia, but the known world. Unlike other royals, he wasn't pampered. His father made sure he earned his place through rigorous military training, while his education was entrusted to Aristotle himself. Yes, that Aristotle. The philosopher taught Alexander science, ethics, and politics. But more importantly, he planted the idea of Hellenic superiority and destiny. At the age of 12, Alexander performed his first act of legend, taming Bucephalus, a wild, unrideable horse. Others tried and failed. Alexander noticed the horse was afraid of its own shadow, so he turned the horse toward the sun, mounted it, and rode. Philip wept. "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambitions. Macedonia is too small." It was no exaggeration. In 336 BCE, Philip II was assassinated under mysterious circumstances. Some say Olympias had a hand in it. Within days, Alexander became king at just 20. He quickly crushed rebellions in Greece and then turned east. Officially, he declared war on Persia to avenge earlier invasions, but beneath that noble cause lay ambition. Alexander wanted to unite east and west into a single empire and become a god in his own right. Few know that his campaign wasn't just about military conquest. He carried scientists, engineers, architects, and historians with him, like a mobile empire of knowledge. Alexander is one of the few commanders in history who never lost a battle. From Granicus to Issus to the legendary Battle of Gaugamela, his tactics were decades ahead of their time. At Gaugamela, he faced Darius III's massive Persian army. Outnumbered 5 to 1, Alexander used the terrain, misdirection, and speed to split the Persian line and drive straight for Darius. Darius fled again, but here's the twist. Alexander didn't pursue him immediately. Instead, he captured Darius' family and treated them with respect, gaining admiration from Persian citizens. What most people don't know is that Alexander didn't just conquer. He integrated. He adopted Persian dress, married Roxana, a Bactrian princess, and encouraged his men to marry local women. He declared himself Shahanshah, King of Kings, a Persian title, and began portraying himself as a living god. To some of his Greek companions, this was blasphemy. To the Persians, it was brilliant politics. He founded over 20 cities, most named Alexandria, and created a cultural network that outlived his empire by centuries. As his empire grew, so did his ego. In India, Alexander met his greatest challenge, both from fierce warriors and from his own troops. At the Battle of the Hydaspes, he fought King Porus, who used war elephants. Though victorious, Alexander's army was exhausted and demoralized. Soon after, they refused to march further east. Alexander was forced to turn back, but darker signs were emerging. He began to drink excessively, executed his close companion Parmenion, and killed his best friend Clitus in a drunken rage. The boy king was becoming a paranoid tyrant. In 323 BCE in Babylon, Alexander suddenly fell ill. Some say malaria, others suspect poison. Within days, he was dead. He was just 32 years old. He left no heir. His empire quickly fractured into warring kingdoms under his generals. But his dream of a blended world, it lived on in the Hellenistic culture that spread across Egypt, Persia, and India. Alexander the Great was not a saint. He massacred cities, destroyed entire cultures, and imposed his will by the sword. But he was also a visionary who tried to unite humanity under a single culture. He redrew the map of the ancient world. Inspired leaders from Caesar to Napoleon studied his campaigns. Even in modern military academies, his tactics are still taught, and yet his tomb still missing. His body was last seen in Alexandria, then lost to time, perhaps fitting for a man who blurred the lines between myth and history. Alexander may have died immortal, but his legacy is immortal. His empire lasted just a few years, but his impact still felt. The real question isn't just who Alexander the Great was, but what he wanted to become. Was he trying to build a kingdom or craft a legend? If this journey into history fascinated you, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more incredible stories from the past. This has been Undercover History Updates. Until next time, stay curious.